All right, so now that we have our selects picked, we can jump into the develop module and start to kind of mess around with the color space. So let me just throw a look on here. I'm gonna cool this down a little bit, and already I can tell that's something sweet right there. I like the way that the water is kind of just pushing through here, through this scene. I'll throw a crop on that, a nice little 16:9 frame. So I'm gonna take the color picker and just slide around a little bit, see what colors I like that, you know, that work. I like a nice little green kind of Batman look. Maybe flip the exposure up just a click. I don't want it to be too much. I get a lot of you guys ask me about grain. Just be responsible with the amount of grain that you guys use. You don't want to have too much to where it's like disgusting to look at. But if it helps the character of your scene, you know, go for it. All right, so there's one. Like I said, you want to be really quick with this. Okay, so that works for me. I'm gonna move on to the second image, and I have a couple of selects here. And the only reason why I probably will not go with it as a final is just because of this car that's sitting right here. It just does too much for me. I could try to live with it. Let me see if I just pull this down here. I mean, I might be able to live with that. Again, it all comes down to making a respectful aesthetic. So you want to have something that all works together. That's the theme of this course, is making images that work together. All right, so there is a second composition that I ended up choosing. You're gonna synchronize your settings. So if you wanna do that, you'll take the image whose settings that you would like to copy, and you're gonna command click the guinea pig image. And now you got them both selected, you're gonna get command shift S, enter, and that's gonna synchronize the settings. And right away, this is way too hot, pushed, and the exposure is just too bright. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this down. Get that looking where it needs to look. Kind of like I said when we were shooting already, you're getting this angle of incidence phenomenon that's happening on the signs right here. So you wanna make sure that your highlights are down, your whites are down. The orange looks a little Cheeto-y to me. Yeah, that's a little bit closer to the color actually look like. Orange and yellow are probably my favorite colors to play with in the slider. They're just loads of fun. The shadows. I had teal working a little bit for me earlier, so I'm gonna push that in a little bit more of a teal greenish direction. Maybe a little bit lower. You don't want it to be overwhelming. And there you go. That's our taxi shot. I like the subject who is standing right here. I'm not sure about the color space just because it looks a little hot. So I'll take some of the exposure out just a little bit. Let's see if I throw a crop on that. How does that look? That's actually not too shabby. I'm gonna give it that Tony Scott kind of look, that Man on Fire kind of vibe. I might scale in just a bit, see what we get. That actually looks pretty damn good. I think I might be able to get away with that. This parking shot, even though I said I liked this one when I was shooting it, I'm looking at it now and I don't really think I like it the way I did when I saw it, which, you know, it happens. Just for the class's sake, let's go ahead and put some color on it. See if I can't change my mind. Ideally, I would have wanted to stand further back so I could get more space. Probably without a 16:9 crop, this probably looks pretty normal. If it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me. And usually I'll just toss it, but you know. Or you never know, you could come back to it and you might like it later. You never know. I got a couple of shots for this right here. The shack, I'm looking at the sign, it's a little bit blown out up here, so I know every highlight is gonna have to come down like a lot. Even though I said you're not supposed to expose for these highlights, I expose for the highlights and I'm paying for it now because when I take these highlights down all the way, they're still blown out in the top. So I'm gonna have to live with it this time, but generally you wanna be paying attention to any sources of white light and make sure they're not taking over the scene. Let's plop some color onto this. That looks pretty good. I like the way it looks. I'm gonna blue it out a little bit. I'm gonna take the slider for tint towards the green direction. Let's see what the shadows look like. I almost like everything looking fairly even. I'll keep it on the green spectrum. I'll plop a crop onto that. And I kind of like how this grading right here just kind of lines up. The grading in the floor leads all straight to this little oasis. Crop that. Like I said, I gotta live with these highlights. I made my bed, I gotta sleep in it now, but yeah, you generally want to avoid doing this, what I did right here. It's a big no-no. We can actually go back and take our filter off. And what I'll do is I'll just hit shift all the way to the rest of the images in this series. I'll synchronize the settings and see if I didn't properly expose for another situation. Let's just check all of these and see if they look any better. I don't think so. Well, you know, it happens. Yeah, that's doing it. It does something for me. Cool. So I don't want to make this too much of a focus on editing per se. I just wanted to get these thrown into the computer and get you guys a look on this. You guys have already seen the editing classes I've done in the past. This should be nothing new to you guys whatsoever. Maybe a different way of looking at things, but in terms of the tech and making stuff work in Lightroom, none of this is new. So when you're ready to export, you'll go ahead, Command-Shift-E. You have a folder that you'll want to put everything in. Go ahead and click that, your dimensions, whatever you want to do, go ahead and export that. And that's it. Those are our images for this class. So we're going to change kind of the way that we apply this from a photo perspective to more of a film/cinema perspective. And hopefully you guys are along for the ride. So have fun. Thank you guys for jumping in on this. And we'll see you in the next module.